Welcome to Dinner by the Minute. Here's how to cook simple, healthy, and frugal meals without losing your mind. Learn how to swap out ingredients you don't have, don't like, or are allergic to, or simply find too expensive. You don't need specific ingredients, just a pinch of fun. Today we're going to be making spring roll in a bowl. This is a version of the traditional spring rolls that are rolled up and are really fussy to make. You'll be able to make this salad in about a quarter of the time as what it takes to make the rolled version of this dish. And it's still going to have all the deliciousness and probably a little bit more. So what we're going to start with now is our sauce that we're going to be using for our salad dressing. Traditionally, if you're making a spring roll, this is the type of sauce that you would dip your spring roll in and then eat. So we're going to mix it up a little bit. So in our bowl today, we've got the peanut butter is already in here, and this is Kraft all-natural peanut butter. So that means it's made with only peanuts. There's no added sugar or salt at all to it, and it definitely has a much more peanutty taste than the sweetened varieties that you normally see on the cupboard shelves. So to that, we're going to add, we'll start actually with our lime. Now this lime, I've warmed it up in the microwave for about 30 seconds. And the reason I do that is to get it really soft so that all the juices come out. And then you just roll it on the cupboard like this to get a little bit softer. And today we're also going to be using just a bit of the zest. Now the zest, I'm going to save a little bit for our shrimp as well. The zest has just as much flavor as the juice does. So really, if you only use the juice of the fruit, you're really wasting half of it, half the flavor. So let's go ahead and use it. And I just have a rasp, and so it comes out very finely grated with the rasp. You don't want to get too much of the pith, the underneath part, because that part tends to be bitter. The flavor is really just in the really bright color of the rind. And we can see just how fine that comes out. Very, very fine. So I'm just going to, I forgot to get a plate. That doesn't matter. We're just going to put a little bit on the cupboard for later use for that, for flavoring the broth that we're going to be cooking or poaching our shrimp in, actually. That should be good. And we're going to just cut this guy in half, and then we're going to use the juicer to get out the maximum amount of juice that we can. If you don't have a juicer, by all means, just squeeze the heck out of it. So this one, it's pretty good because it has space for a larger fruit like a lemon or a smaller fruit like a lime. And there we go, that's quite juicy, that looks good. And then we're going to use the other half as well. And that's probably going to be enough. I don't think we'll actually have to use 2 full limes because we did put some of that zest in. And when we taste it, we can always add a little bit more at the end. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. We have sweet chili sauce with a bit of garlic powder in it, or you could use garlic chili sauce. And then you don't have to put the garlic in, of course. This is going to be kind of a sweet, a little bit of a spicy, nice Asian flavors now with the hoisin sauce as well. Dump that in. And I do have a little bit of extra lime juice here. I'm just going to leave that to the side until we taste it. We'll mix this up, and we want to mix it up first so that we can estimate how much water we're going to need. We don't want it too runny, but we don't want it thick like peanut butter is either. Oh, this smells really good. When it comes together, you can really notice that difference in the flavor. It's all blending up together. It's nice. And you don't have to use chopsticks. You could definitely use a whisk for this, but chopsticks just kind of keeps it in the genre of what we're cooking. There we go. Now that's definitely too thick. So just put in about 1.5 tablespoons of water to start with. I think that might end up being enough. That's looking quite nice. Oh yeah, that's looking quite good. I think it's still a little bit too thick though. It's just like this. So we're going to go ahead, put more water in. If you accidentally put in too much water, you can just fix that by adding a little bit more peanut butter to the sauce. That'll thicken it up again. All right, I think we're about the right consistency here. And if I find that this thickens up after it's sat for a while, I'll just add more water at the end too. All right, looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna have a little taste of this. That's good. I think it has enough lime in it. But we'll test it again just before we serve it. So that's step one of our dish, getting the dressing ready. And look how quick that was. Okay, on to step two. We're going to cook our noodles. Now you can use rice noodles, you could use brown rice noodles, or you could use these, which are called mung bean noodles. These ones I'm really interested to try, if we can get them out of the package. There we go. Really interested to try because these are made out of mung beans instead of rice, so they're actually a lower carbohydrate noodle than what the rice noodle would be. And I find that the white rice noodles for me are not the best thing. I prefer something that has more of a complex carbohydrate, which in this case mung beans is, and it's not just going to go, you're going to absorb more nutrients from it, that's for sure, and you won't be as hungry as soon afterwards. So we have the noodles in here. This only takes about probably 2 minutes to cook. They turn into just this beautiful glass-like noodle that's really, really nice. And so that is a little bit different looking even than the rice noodles. Very lovely. So I'll just stir these around so everything gets mixed up at the same time. I didn't put salt or anything like that in the water because once it comes out, we're going to season it with some toasted sesame oil, and that's going to give it its taste, and it's also going to help prevent the noodles from sticking together. Well, I think those are done. Those look really nice. Okay, so then we're just going to drain these and season them with the oil. Just going to set it here for a minute till it stops boiling. It's just a little bit too hot to try and do too much with. There we go. And we'll just go right over to our sink here, and then we can start draining. Easy as pie. Noodles back on top, and then before we serve them, we'll coat them with the toasted sesame oil. All right, now we're going to go ahead and cook our bean sprouts. We have our water boiling, and we're just going to cook these for about 2 minutes. There we go. Now traditionally, bean sprouts are usually served raw in salads, on sandwiches, and so on. But due to the high number of cases of, I can't remember what kind of poisoning it is, but it's a food poisoning that's very common with bean sprouts, we've decided to cook them for this show, and I've cooked them at home before I eat them as well. The reason that they are prone to foodborne bacteria is that they stay very damp, and they have little leaves on them, which the little leaves can just really start to go bad very quickly. And sometimes people just take them out of the bag and serve them. They always have to be very thoroughly washed. And for the highest safety, just go ahead and cook them for a little bit. They'll still be nice and crunchy and tasty, and it won't affect really the salad. It's just going to make sure that it's going to be a very safe and healthy thing to eat. So we'll check these. You can see they're still nice and crunchy. They're looking really good. We just need to cook them for about another minute. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on so it brings it up to a boil. And after that's cooked for a minute, we will take them over to the sink and drain them. Okay, our noodles are done. We're just going to take them over to the sink and drain them. And for these ones, we are going to rinse them in cold water so that they get nice and cooled down quickly for our salad. Just use regular water out of your tap. And you can see that we don't seem to have as many beans now because they have kind of softened up and gone down and are a little bit less of quantity, but they're still crunchy. Yep, really nice and good. And they taste really good too. So these will be ready for our salad in just a few minutes. Today we're using tiger prawns for our protein in this dish. So what we've done is the prawns came with the shell on. So we've shelled them and we've deveined them so they're nice and clean. These were purchased at T&T supermarket. These are super fresh. They smell really good. They don't have any kind of off smell. That's something you really always need to check for when you're cooking any kind of fish. Really smell it and make sure it just smells oceany and not too fishy. It's super important that you really cook your shrimp, any kind of seafood, any kind of meat actually, especially chicken, until it's thoroughly cooked. If you don't cook it until it's thoroughly cooked, you're probably going to get food poisoning, and nobody wants that. Shrimp, fish, they don't take very long to cook at all, and you can tell when the shrimp is done not only by the change of color, but also by the change in texture where they become, instead of being quite squishy, they get more firm, and they are pink throughout. So if you're unsure, you can just break one open and test it to make sure that the center looks just as cooked as the outside portion of the shrimp, especially because these are a little bit larger. They will take a little bit longer to cook. And today we're going to be poaching the shrimp. So we're going to go ahead and get them on the stove right away. Okay, here we go. We're going to cook our shrimp. We just have a little bit of water in here, about 1 inch. We don't need too much. And we're just going to put in that lime that we zested earlier. And we're going to put in the herbs that we're using in the salad. So we have some parsley, we have some basil, and we also have some cilantro. So we'll just toss those in. And this is nice just to give the shrimp just a little bit of extra flavor. It's nice to season the protein that you're cooking with the same seasonings that you're using in your dish. It just helps marry all the flavors together. Got that in, and we're just going to go ahead and dump these beautiful shrimps in. Now you'll notice that they'll start to turn color fairly quickly. And I've left the tails on these ones. And you can see that that turns color the quickest and it's nice and dark. Doesn't mean it's done, that's for sure. We probably need to poach these for about, I'm thinking 2 to 3 minutes. They don't take very long, but we want to make sure that, of course, that they're thoroughly cooked. Okay, our shrimp are done. It only took about 2 minutes, maybe 2.5. Now you can see that they're firm. The color has totally changed and they're nice and curled as well. So they look a lot different than when they did when we put them in. We'll just scoop all of these out and we're going to let them cool for a little while before we put them on our salad because it's just all a nice cold salad. So we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to pop these, probably just pop them in the fridge. Even though you're not supposed to put hot items in the fridge to cool, you can do it once in a while if it's just for something quick like this, and it shouldn't cause any problems in your fridge or with your food. And now we're ready to assemble our salad. We'll have a look at our sauce to begin with, and I think that's a little bit too thick now. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more water to it and just mix it up. Oh, that's coming together really well. And that's a nice thing about the sauce is that if it does get too thick, you just add a bit more water. If it gets too thin, just add a little bit more peanut butter. And it smells so nice, especially after it's been sitting for a while. All those flavors are kind of married together, as they say. And it just gives a totally different smell to the dish, which is really nice. Okay, looks good. We'll set that to the side. Now we're going to start with our noodles. Oops. we want to do with these is go ahead and add our oil, because you can see that they are quite stuck together. And this is toasted sesame oil. And do make sure you get the toasted oil. It has a very different flavor than untoasted sesame oil. This is so much better, and the untoasted sesame oil is really, it's just kind of bland compared to this. We don't need too much. About half a teaspoon maybe there. Okay, I think I'll have to let these soften for a few minutes. Okay, here we are back with our noodles. They were too stuck together to effectively mix the oil in, because I should have put the oil in just after I took them off the stove, and I forgot to do that. So what I did was I just put them back into the strainer, rinsed them with some cold water, and just kind of massaged them a little bit, and they all come apart like that, very nicely. So we're going to go ahead now and put our oil in, because I rinsed that off when I was unsticking the noodles. There we go. And we can just use this, or we could use our fingers, or we could use forks to get it all mixed together. Oh my goodness, that oil smells really good. It's so nice now that all of these flavors are out on the counter and we can smell everything. It just makes me hungry now. And the sight and smell of our food is truly what makes us have an appetite for it. So always remember to pay attention to how everything smells and looks. All right, so we'll go ahead and start plating. Now we're just going to use 2 forks to lift the noodles. I just find that's way faster, easier, and a bit more in control than me trying to use the chopsticks for it. And you can definitely set this up as a salad bar. So you, your family, your guests can go ahead and serve themselves, because everybody likes a little bit more of this and a little bit less of that. So it will satisfy everyone. Or you can just go ahead and make them ahead. And this would be a really nice dish to make for lunches, if you're taking lunches to work or school. It would keep quite well. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put on some of our lovely bean sprouts. We'll put those on the side. We'll do a little bit more in each dish here. And these are nice and cold, because we did for sure rinse these in cold water. And like I said before, they're nice and crunchy too, so that's just a really nice bonus. So now we're going to use some bok choy today. You could use any kind of lettuce that you want. And in fact, what you could do, instead of having even the bean sprouts and separate carrots, you could use a bag of coleslaw mix. It's usually really affordable to buy. It's quick and easy, and you could just make it all in one big bowl, and that would work out really well as in addition to some herbs and carrots and so on. And these bok choys, I've just sliced them so they're just in nice manageable pieces for the salads. And one more over here. Okay, and that looks nice and cute with the nice dark green contrast to it. Okay, now we're going to put on our cucumbers. And we'll just put them over to the side here. Oops, put that back. Now you can make the cucumbers smaller if you like, in smaller, thinner slices, or you could cut them in diagonal or circles, whatever you like. I just thought these would be quite manageable and easy to eat with the chopsticks. Put one more there. Now we're going to use our carrot sticks, and these ones I've cut a little bit smaller just because they're crunchier and take a little bit longer to chew. So they're all kind of equal proportions here of the amounts that we're going to put in for these little veg. You could put in, you know, now that spring is in the air, there's going to be radishes and probably a lot of different kinds of the vegetables that we haven't seen fresh for a while. So the sky's the limit with this recipe. You use whatever types of vegetables you guys like, and it's all going to come together. Now we're going to use some herbs in the salad as well. So these, in here we have some cilantro and some parsley. And we're just going to make it into a little bit smaller pieces. Toss it on there. You can rip it up a bit. There we go. And we'll put some more on this plate. And just to rip them up a bit, because you don't really want necessarily a great big piece of herb in your bite, just because they are very flavorful. And it could be a bit overwhelming if there's too much. So with this one, I decided to leave this one as is, the way it comes in the package, other than I've taken it out and washed it. And I just wanted to show you how you pluck off the leaves. And you literally just pluck off the leaves like this. It's very, very easy. And then with this basil, we're also going to just snip it into littler pieces. And now I've noticed that the herbs are really, really affordable. They're under $1 a bunch for a lot of different ones. Basil is more expensive. And I found that the best places to shop for your herbs is at H&W Produce and also at T&T Market. All right. So with herbs being so cheap, it's great to stock up on them and just have quite a few different selections in your fridge. But how do you keep them? How do you make them last longer? Because often, as soon as they're exposed to water, they start to turn to mush, and then they're no good at that point for sure. So what you want to do is have your stems, leave it all attached, just like a little bouquet. You're going to rip off all of the small little leaves that are at the very bottom, and then just snip this bottom piece off so that the roots are, well, the stems have a fresh edge. Put it in water, in a glass or a jar, put that in water, cover it with your bag and put it in the fridge. And this will keep like literally for weeks and weeks, as long as you keep checking the water and changing it probably every 3 days or so, because it will get a little bit murky, and then just put them back in the fridge. So that's one great way to do it, to keep them fresh. And you can also just take all your leaves off, just as if you were going to be using them, chop them up, put them in an ice cube tray with a little bit of water, and once they're frozen, you just take those ice cubes out and put it into a freezer bag and freeze it, keep it frozen. And then when you need any of the herbs, you just take out your ice cube and there you go. You can even make mixes of herbs so that you can have one for, say, spaghetti sauce, another one for, say, tacos, that kind of thing. So get creative, blend them, or just keep them all separate and blend them afterwards. Now our last thing to put on our beautiful salad is our lovely shrimp. These are absolutely gorgeous. Couldn't ask for anything more perfect looking than that. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to eat this. So these ones, I think we'll have them just like that. Oh, there's one. So let's try 3 per person here. Lovely. Now, if you aren't using shrimp for this dish, a really good substitute is chicken. And you can slice your chicken on the bias so it's nice, long, round pieces. That would look really nice as well for your plating. Or you could use chicken thighs and then just cut those into little strips. Okay, one more dish. And then all we have left to do is to put our sauce on top of the dish and garnish. All right. So we're going to kind of keep the sauce maybe on one side here so that it can just be mixed in and used as you're eating it. I don't think we need too much because this is quite flavorful. As you know, we did put in quite a few different things: the hoisin sauce, the sweet chili sauce, the garlic powder, and the lime with that peanut butter. So it is quite strong, and we have lots of herbs in here as well, which is strong and very good for you. Herbs are awesome for you. They're very nutrient dense, which means they have a lot of nutrients in just a very small amount. Okay, I think that's it. It's looking good. Let's go ahead and put some peanuts on the very top here. Looks lovely. And if you don't want to use the peanut butter or peanuts on it, you could use like an almond butter or any other kind of nut butter that suits your taste buds. And I think almond butter would, for me, that would probably be the next thing I would try with this dish. Okay, that looks lovely. I'm starving. I'm ready to eat, and I hope you are too. For those who have allergies, there are a lot of substitutions we can make in this dish. Instead of using shrimp or any other type of seafood, if that's the allergy, you could go ahead and use chicken, you could use pork, you could even use some tofu and bean curd. Any of those types of foods are really going to be quite similar to the shrimp. You kind of want to stick with something that's a little bit light, so I wouldn't recommend beef for this particular dish. Now, we used peanut butter and peanuts in this dish as well, which a lot of people are allergic to. So if you're allergic to only peanuts, if you can have other things, you could substitute any other kind of nut butter. But if you are allergic to all kinds of nuts, try making a vinaigrette instead. So just use the same type of ingredients and add a little bit of oil. Olive oil or a grapeseed oil that doesn't have too much flavor would be a really nice substitute for it. Now for the noodles, we did use the mung bean noodles. I don't know if there's a lot of allergies to mung beans or not, but you could use rice noodles, you could use brown rice noodles, or you could use soba noodles. And all those types of noodles also cook really quickly like these noodles did today. So you would still have a really fast dish. For your vegetables or for the herbs, if you're allergic to any of the herbs, you can use any mixture, any combination of herbs that you like. So you could use just one type, or here we use 3 types today, but definitely try and mix it up a bit so that whatever is on your plate you can make sure that you can eat it and you can eat it safely and that you're going to enjoy it. Special thanks to Kelly Wolfort and Raw Rental House for the provision of production equipment, Russell Hendricks for the provision of plate and cookware, Lalitha Taylor for the Council of Dietitians of Canada, and to our viewers for their ongoing support of our show. Bon appetit, and thank you for watching Dinner by the Minute.